to be.
Right Where I'm Supposed to Be, the next song in Eric Hutchinson's brand new Before and After Life. This record is a wonderful discovery musically and also thematically, and this first part ends perfectly, I think, with this song. It's a wrap-up song, and I know this must have meant something to you to put this to kind of wrap up the first side or the first section of this record, right?
I think so. I mean, thematically, the first two songs are sort of about my unborn child. The second two songs are about my wife, and this one is sort of my song before we have a baby.
I've batted 1,000, and I've made my mistakes. I've walked on solid ground, been shook in earthquakes. I've danced with angels, and I've stepped on some snakes. I've been stuck in the mud, and I've caught a few breaks.
I mean, one thing I thought was fun and funny is, like, because so many love songs say baby in them, it's very easy to interchange like almost every love song. So sort of that's what my sort of sly thing I was doing here was like, this is a love song to my daughter, but it could very easily be to anybody.
Oh, yeah.
You know. But that's sort of, to me, the thing that really cinches it to me is at the very end of the song I say holding you in my arms, which is like a trope of every Otis Redding song there is or whatever, but to me it's a very specific meaning here, you know. So I sort of liked walking that line between a love song and...
You know what? That's a great point. And that's where I missed it. Because I'm so seeped in knowing what you were going through, and I knew that what this record's about, and I was there when you recorded Ultrasound, and that's quite obvious. And then when I heard, the best part, and then going into Ultrasound, and then two other songs, by the time we get to this song, I don't think there's any question what we're dealing with here. But you could pull this out, someone could cover it, and have nothing to do with the child.
Right, exactly. And I was sort of trying to walk that line. But this song came together pretty quickly for me, and I'm proud of the lyrics. And well, I don't know. You can lead us on this conversation.
Yeah, because I was going to say, I'm glad you said that, because I think before I do read my notes, it's a song that it's again a love song, but how the person is being affected by the love.
Right.
I never felt perfect, and I never felt sane. Never thought I was worth it. Now I am finding my lane. Said I've been wrong. I've been wrong. I've been wrong. I've been wrong. Now I'm right where I'm supposed to be.
This is a song that has been a long time coming. I wrote, if those of us who have had a blast deconstructing Eric's catalog of songs along the way and watched him grow as an artist and listened to him grapple honestly in song and story with his insecurities and depression and confusion about life and self-esteem and what the past means and what the future holds, Right Where I'm Supposed to Be is a song of personal forgiveness, personal achievement, and crossroads that are looked upon not as dire or foreboding, but full of options and opportunities. This, to me, is the answer to all the questions that he raised in Modern Happiness, and what comes when one is confronted with the responsibility to think about someone else in life besides oneself, to care for someone more than it takes to worry about oneself. It is sung so beautifully. It denotes a weight lifted, a new breath having filled your lungs. Eric even sounds, I may say, younger here than on the rest of the record, more innocent, even in a way rescued. It's like an Oasis song. You're there now, right where I'm supposed to be. Right. That's how I see
that's what it is.
Song.
I mean, this song was written and written before Zelda was born and recorded before Zelda was born, but takes place after she was born. So it is sort of an Oasis. It's me imagining the future and singing the song to her.
But it also does, and I didn't even think of that. I just read that, and I'm kind of learning from the way I observed it. Because when we were talking about it, it's that way in a love song where, you've heard it a million times. You mentioned Otis Redding. I was wandering lonely. I had no idea what love really or anything meant. And then you came along and everything's fine,
Right.
But it's not so much that because, like I said, I'm not listening to this record in a vacuum. I know you. And I know what you were going with and grappling with and doing so honest, so courageously on Modern Happiness. This song really does, to me, underline all of that. And it's a nice place to listen to it as a friend of yours, to hear you coming to these conclusions.
I've made a fortune, been paid odds and ends, flown miles above here, and I've swam with the bends. I've had my moments, but my moments, they end. I've been oh so lonely, surrounded by friends.
I think it's sort of taking stock of my life, and the song felt like something I just wanted to say, and I guess lyrically it's like we're going through the song, and I'm just saying I'm right where I'm supposed to be, but I'm not specifying
where that is
until the end, where I'm just saying, with you in my arms, holding you in my arms. And even like in the earlier I say, but baby, now here we are. I just like the idea that, again, this is sort of more and more the kind of song I like to write, where if you have the key to unlock what the song means, it has a totally second meaning to it.
Right.
So
that's true. Like the song you wrote about Jill watching you watching him.
Right.
That could be anything. It could be some guy who has a crush on somebody unrequited, and you want her to feel about you the way he feels about this guy, right, who's never going to make her feel the way you feel about her. That's how you're going through it. But then it also could be a song about a woman's obsession with tennis. No, I'm saying that's what that is.
Exactly. And this song, could be a guy just telling anybody that they changed his life. But also, again, so like to me lyrically, the last song before this is Why I Love Your Mom, is explaining the mother to the child, and I guess this is me summing up myself to my daughter, sort of explaining. It's not as nuanced as Jill's portrait, but this is sort of, I guess, a self-portrait, of me explaining myself. I've done a little bit of everything.
Right.
And it never really did it for me, but this feels different.
Right, but it's still, you're being affected by an outside source, though.
I mean, all of these songs, the whole Before Life side of the record they're love songs. They're all like straight ahead love songs, because I felt a lot of love and continue to, but I felt very inspired in that way
But a new kind of love.
Yes.
And that's why the new sound, the new, everything about it.
And a new kind of love is important. When I've been married 9 years, I can write songs about Jill, and I love Jill, but it's not a new love necessarily. There's a certain type of inspiration that new love brings.
Yes. And
that's driving most of the songs being written out there.
Right. Well, it's when you have a child, there's a sense of trauma with it. Because you're going through this thing together. It's a very, very heady thing. So, and I think you said it to me before, that, it's like you become like a team. So it's more than this relationship you had prior, where she had her gig, you have your gig, you're doing your things, and you come together to have a good time. Now you guys are truly in this, okay? Mm-hmm. And you find that a lot, not with having a child, but just, getting a new apartment or a new house when you move, or you go through a death in the family, or you go, which we'll touch upon in the second part.
Right.
But these things are outside things happening to you. But yet you're right where you want to be, so that's a good thing.
I never felt righteous, never felt like enough. Never thought I was priceless, but I am not giving up. Said I've been wrong, I've been wrong. Said I've been wrong, I've been wrong, but now I'm right where I'm supposed to be.
I mean, lyrically, I like how this song came together. I sort of like the yin and yang of all these different lyrics that I did. I'm not sure what else you have to say about it.
So we'll get. This is where I think it's. I try again. I think because I write to begin the chorus, we end the first side of Before part of the album with a repeated line. Remember earlier I mentioned,
right.
I've been wrong. I've been wrong. I've been wrong. I've been wrong. So in the past, you haven't quite saw life that way. That's why I'm trying to say it's like a real new revelation to you over and over again, not only as a theme of the first section of songs, but to drive home that to be wrong over and over, to make mistakes on how one is viewing life through the prism of selfishness, being driven by things like art, which is a selfish expression. You have to look inward, express it out, and the need for success from that art, and to achieve measures of perfection with your music, with your career, with creation. Here is a different kind of creation: blood and tissue. This matters more and has more peripherally and everything to do with you. So now, I'm right, you sing. Or at least right where I'm supposed to be. So
Right, and it's a little bit of a play on words there, too.
Right.
I've been wrong, now I'm right where I'm supposed to be. But also, to your point,
because I've made a fortune, been paid odds and ends. You talk about it, flown miles over here, swam. So you've done all these different. You've traveled, you've played music, you're famous, you're playing on the Today Show, but this is a different thing.
Yeah, and I think also, like you said, this is a bit of a bridge from the last album, Modern Happiness. This is sort of talking about everything, and then it's saying, but I wasn't satisfied, and that's sort of where Modern Happiness, the song, would end a lot of times, is I've done all this stuff and I'm not satisfied. I guess that's just life. And I think this is an added part of, but I feel better about it right now. And it's also sort of, as I'm looking at these lyrics, I mean, it's a bit of a, way to explain life to somebody new. If, like, look, there's ups, there's downs, as Stephen Kellogg would say, high highs, low lows. And that's not the stuff that always matters,
Right. Is there one lyric that jumps out at you right now while you're looking at them? Just to let the listeners know, you're like staring at the lyrics while you're talking about them.
Yeah, I'm looking at them.
Neat.
I mean, I really like the opening line, the full 4 lines. I've batted 1,000, which I'm a baseball fan, and nobody bats 1,000 is the
Correct.
thing.
Yeah.
Like maybe for the first week.
So
I went back and forth on that. Should I say I've hit 300?
No.
That's not fun, and it's not perfect. That's the point. It's like I've batted 1,000. I've made my mistakes. I've walked on solid ground, been shook in earthquakes. And this line I really liked. I've danced with angels and I've stepped on some snakes. I've been stuck in the mud and I've caught a few breaks. I just sort of enjoyed how much that it encapsulates for me. It's not necessarily literal, but it's like, yeah, I've been through it. I'm old compared to you. This newborn thing hasn't done anything.
Right, I've been there, done that.
But then, I never felt perfect. I never felt sane. Never thought I was worth it. Now I'm finding my lane. Yeah. To me, this was like me doing my best Aretha Franklin song or something.
Yeah, because I write down here, love the gospel come smoky strip joint tweak of the music, the band and the phrasing leading into the chorus, dipping down and coming back up for effect, using those sonic blues tropes to be released in the brighter chorus. It's got a little bit of the early 70s Springsteen dual horn part that tips its hat at Stax, Motown, The Meters, Sam Cooke, James Brown, and Harlem Soul. This is accentuated eventually by a really smooth kick-ass sax solo.
Yeah, and it's interesting you bring up Springsteen because I can definitely hear that, and I think we're drawing from the same world. But one thing I think it does change this from that is, so apparently Clarence Clemens of the E Street Band was a notoriously terrible soloist. I don't know if you've ever heard that before.
No.
His saxophone player, he couldn't solo, really. He wasn't great at it. And there's all these stories of like them specifically crafting every line of like the stuff that he would play as his solos.
It does sound structured.
Yeah.
The stuff that he does on those records
is structured.
Yes.
More so than I think a lot of that Stax stuff was, because I mean those guys were jazz musicians and stuff, and Motown were jazz musicians. So,
right, but also some of that stuff was very structured too. They rehearsed the shit out of those, from what I remember.
Right, yeah. But so this was an unrehearsed solo that Patrick Bartley did, and I love it. Also, I should mention, we haven't talked about this yet. He showed up to the studio and he said, "Hey, I've got this octave pedal I've been playing with lately, where pretty much he played his sax and they had a microphone attached to it, and so he was getting two feeds at once. He was getting his acoustic sound of his alto saxophone, but then he was also getting an octave lower, or even 2 octave lower if he wanted to, a second sound. So it's like creates this almost echoey duet sound at once, and you're hearing that a lot on this album, which I really liked, and I was just like, sure, why not? Let's put it in there.
That's right. I got to listen to that
So
again.
this song has some of that sort of, you can hear it in the saxophone just sounds a bit different and manipulated, but it's really just the sound of the saxophone twice, but sort of being edited.
Yeah, I'm sure he's probably a Sonny Rollins fan. It's got a lot of Sonny Rollins feel to it. I love the line, never felt like a whole me. I pulled that out and actually wrote down there. So again, a song about when you were inward. See, everything we do as creative people is very inward at first. It's got to come out of us that way. We observe things. I like to write nonfiction. I like to tell stories. I like to talk to artists like yourself and tell. But in the end, it's just you getting that stuff out. And when you have a kid, it's a different perspective entirely. That's a big perspective change. Never felt like a whole me. You could say in a love song, like you complete me.
Yeah.
But with a kid, there's some real serious insightfulness there.
I never felt holy, never felt like a star, never felt like the whole me. But baby, now here we are, saying I've been wrong, I've been wrong, said I've been wrong, I've been wrong, but now I'm right, right where I wanna be.
And again, I think just what really sums up this side of the album, and maybe the whole album, is there's an optimism. There's unlimited potential before a baby is born. You know, like who knows what this thing's going to turn out to be.
That's true.
And that was very intoxicating to me. And yeah, like I said, these are all just love songs. I was really in love with Jill and the idea of this girl who was coming that we were going to meet, and just kind of the space, you know. And it's, as much as I'm saying this is about afterwards too, I think maybe before the song I'm talking about right now, where I'm waiting for this child, and at the end of the song I'm saying, now I'm right where I want to be, holding you in my arms, like I actually have you now. Like, so maybe that part of the song takes place in the future, but the rest of it is sort of in the waiting process, like the rest of this side of the album.
Well, it's funny you say that, because I finish up by saying, having written this prior to the birth of your daughter is quite prescient, as I believe that was the introduction to the actual fatherhood. This song is the introduction, the actual love on the deeper and higher plane, this little being looking up at me, this little part of me, this part of my wife held in my arms, so fragile and yet more powerful than all the demons or all the achievements that life will throw at us. It's really good stuff. It's what songwriting, I write, or writing, any way it is, any way you put it, it's what writing is all about, is to express this. And I remember the thing that really hit me, we talked about ultrasound and everything, is when Scarlett was born and they finally put it in my arms, and I'm looking at her and she's looking up at me, and I'm like, what the? Uh-oh. You know? They've depicted this well in films, too. Look at that beautiful rainbow. You see that rainbow going right down over that building? Can you see it from where you're
optimism.
Wow. I just looked over and saw this gorgeous rainbow coming on the other side, because it's been raining all day. It's actually cleared up. Is that there's this feeling at the end that this is for real. So when you take the child home, it's just like, well, can we bring the nurse? Is there going to be any? Is there an instruction booklet you can get?
And again, that's why I think it was important for me to capture this stuff before the baby was here, because I think it just felt like I want to capture this time. There's a certain innocence that I had as well, you know, of everything's coming up roses or whatever. You know?
Well, you certainly did. I applaud you. The first section of Before and Afterlife is complete, and now we move on to the afterlife part.
Yes.
And the way you sequence these songs as well are very important. So we will see you, as they say, on the other side.